Thanos was ruthless, unpredictable, and certainly not the type you'd expect to empathize with. But somehow, his journey had moments that hit you harder than you'd expect. Today, we're diving into every time Thanos made you feel sorry for him, often without even realizing it. And it all starts with the most shocking revelation about his past. Before he became the chaotic force we knew in the game, Thanos was just another man at his lowest point. Thanos' downfall in crypto. He wasn't some brilliant strategist or a villain. He was just another struggling individual chasing his dreams, who staked everything on the wrong gamble. His downfall? Cryptocurrency. Thanos put everything into a coin called Dalmatian coin, convinced by an influential YouTuber that it would be his ticket to success. The YouTuber currently won it for fraud and violating multiple financial regulations. But this wasn't just about money. Thanos saw crypto as a way to escape his struggles, to finally break through and leave behind the life of failure. For a while, he truly believed it was his path to success. So when that YouTuber endorsed Dalmatian coin, Thanos went all in 1.19 billion, gone in the blink of an eye. No backup plan, no safety net, just total financial ruin. Thanos' despair, and suddenly he wasn't just broke, he was a complete failure. For someone like Thanos, who couldn't bear weakness, this was the worst blow. He wasn't just another victim of a scam. He had convinced himself he was too smart to fall for it. But the reality? He had been played, just like everyone else. And that's when things almost took a dark turn. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he admitted that, before joining the game, he was on the verge of ending it all. Before everything, I was standing on the edge, thinking about jumping off the bridge. That's how deep his despair ran. The brash, cocky Thanos we saw in the game, it was just a mask away to hide his brokenness. The hardest truth? He didn't enter Squid Game for riches. He entered to redeem himself, to prove to himself that he wasn't a failure, and to finally earn his mother's pride. Thanos' struggles in the game. But as we all know, things didn't go as planned. If this part didn't stir some sympathy for him, the next one definitely will. The game didn't fix him, it broke him further. Thanos wasn't just cracking under the pressure. He had already been shattering long before the games began. And the one thing that kept him going, the pills hidden around his neck, weren't a symbol of faith. They were his lifeline. Whenever the tension rose, whenever fear crept in, or whenever the reality became too overwhelming, he popped a pill. Right after the first game, red light, green light, a girl is shot point blank. And instead of reacting, Thanos immediately reaches for his stash. He doesn't run, he doesn't scream, he numbs himself. And this became a pattern. After that first game, whenever chaos struck, Thanos turned to the pills. Not every time, but enough to make it clear that it wasn't bravery that fueled him, it was simply a need to escape. That explains the mood swings. One moment, he's dancing and joking around in the game. The next moment, he's angry, kicking someone out of the group and sending them to their death. And when it happens, he's shocked. Maybe he thought it wouldn't go that far. Or maybe he was just faking it. Either way, he shifted the blame. Would you leave him with that responsibility? Thanos wasn't playing to win. He was using the game as a distraction, running from his addiction, his guilt, and his crumbling sanity. Thanos' last attempts at control. The most heartbreaking part? No one noticed. Most of the players saw him as loud, erratic, and unpredictable. But behind that was a man who couldn't function unless he was high. He wasn't out to win. He was just trying to survive. And when the pills no longer worked, his grip on everything, his crew, his self-control started to slip, pushing him into his most desperate move yet. By the time Thanos realized he was losing everything, it was already too late. His alliances were falling apart, his leadership was disintegrating, and the fake confidence he'd projected, gone. So what did he do? He clung to whatever influence he had left, and one person he relied on was Park Man-soo, one of his crew members, who was much easier to manipulate than the others. Thanos' manipulation of Park Man-soo? Thanos knew how to use that weakness. After the tragic events in the Mingle game, where his decision to pick Park Man-soo over Young Soo led to Young Soo's death, cracks began to appear in his tight-knit group. Players like Sok, Min, and Namju started pulling away, sensing his instability and erratic behavior. His crew's loyalty didn't just fade, it unraveled. The breaking point came during the vote to leave the game. Thanos tried to pressure Man-soo into changing his vote from X to O, but when other players like Myung openly defended Man-soo, challenging Thanos' authority, it exposed how much his grip was slipping. This was the first time anyone dared to stand up to him. and it hit hard. This loss of control pushed Thanos to cling even tighter to Mensu. Instead of physical threats, he resorted to emotional manipulation guilt, loyalty, and the illusion of brotherhood to keep Mensu under his thumb. But it wasn't about loyalty, it was about fear. Thanos could feel his world falling apart, and he was desperately trying to hold on to what little he had left. And here's the real tragedy. It wasn't strategic, it was survival. Thanos wasn't thinking ahead, he wasn't plotting his next move. He was simply reacting, clinging to whatever scraps of power he had, lashing out to keep from being left behind. But the deeper he spiraled, the more reckless and vulnerable he became. Just how far would he go before the game decided his fate? Thanos' death. After all the chaos, the ego, the manipulation, no one expected Thanos to go out like this. The end came in a grimy bathroom, stabbed in the neck with a fork by player 333, Myung. It all started with a simple vote. Thanos had already been losing control for Daishi's team fracturing, his influence slipping. So when Park Mensu voted X to leave the game, Thanos took it as a personal attack. He cornered Mensu, tried to force him to change his vote just to hold on to his dwindling power. But Myung intervened. Myung didn't just defend Mensuhe challenged Thanos directly. Thanos had held a grudge against Myung from the very beginning, blaming him for his crypto downfall. Now that resentment exploded. They fought, it was messy, uncontrolled. Thanos lunged at Myung, who grabbed a fork from a food tray and drove it straight into Thanos' neck. No speech, no last words, just pure chaos and silence. And that's what made it hurt more. Not just how quickly it all happened, but how pointless it seemed. Thanos probably imagined he'd go out in a blaze of glory defiant, fighting the system. Instead, he died on a bathroom floor. No grand statement, no legacy, no one cared. He entered the game to prove he wasn't a failure. But in the end, his death didn't change a thing. He still died unnoticed. For someone who lived like a storm, he didn't go out in flames. He simply collapsed. And that, maybe, is the cruelest part. Thanos wasn't a good person. He was reckless, unstable, and manipulative. But was he ever truly a villain? In the end, it wasn't about winning the game for him. He wasn't playing to win, he was trying not to fall apart. By the time Thanos realized it, it was too late. He never stood a chance in a game designed to break the desperate. But Thanos wasn't alone. What if some players were secretly working for the VIPs, manipulating the game? Curious? Check out our breakdown of every hidden VIP in Squid Game and see the signs for yourself.